All right, everybody, welcome back to the OffBeat Sports Podcast, presented to you. Great product. All right, well, today me and Aiden are here to give you the Celtics first round preview. We got last night. We got their matchup. We got the Nets first round. Definitely a good one. Seventh seed Nets. Even though they shouldn't be a seventh seed, they're a much better roster than that. They had some injuries this year, so should be a good series. So we're gonna talk everything about the series. We'll start with some of the games from this season that we played against them, then how like the roster or how like the lineups match up. And then we'll talk about some of the storylines around this games because we all know there are a bunch of them. So first off, we'll give our first thoughts on this series. So Aiden, how are you feeling about this series?
Um, Honestly, I didn't feel great about this series. Thinking about the possibilities of playing Brooklyn when I saw that the Bucks lost that lopsided game to Cleveland a few days ago, but I feel like the Celtics match up very well against the Nets as currently constructed. They have the wings that, I mean, you can't stop Kevin Durant. You can only really hope to slow him down, but the Celtics are better equipped to do that than anyone else with the Jays, Marcus and Derek White. They have the best defense in the league. So when you're playing the best offense in the league, you need a lockdown defense. And even without Rob, I feel like those the big guys on the squad, so Tyson, Al, even you could say Cornette, they have that underdog mentality after Bruce Brown's comments. Like they're going to be out there ready to show that they are still a big part of a great defense. Mm-hmm. And so I have chances in this series.
Yeah, hopefully Cornette will play, but if he has to, I think he can hold his own. But my first thoughts on this is I think it'll be a good series. I think we win this though. Just from some of the evidence we saw throughout like this year, like our team is good. We are deserving of that 2 seed. Everyone's sleeping on us because of how we started the year. But if the Celtics come out playing like they have been playing, fearless, great defense. Don't forget, yes, they had the number one ranked offense, but since the All-Star break, they've also had the number one ranked or defense. They've also had the number one ranked offense. So you can't really or this we have a damn good offense as well. And I think that all like we can chalk it all up to Ime Udoka really helping out this team. And I know I've had my negative comments about him, but I am all in on him again. But let's look at some of the matchups. I mean, we lost the first matchup, 123 to 104, ugly game in the middle in November or in the end of November. This is when everything kind of was going to shit. We struggled. Our leading scorer in the game was Marcus Smart with 20. I mean, that's not anything like to like. That's pretty bad when Smart's our leading scorer. Not like I love Smart, but like Tatum had 15, Brown only had 13. Rob Williams didn't even play in that game. Grant Williams started. That was before the trades too. So Cantor got some minutes. Actually, Cantor got a bunch of minutes. Langford had the second most minutes off the bench. Schroeder had the most off the bench. Pritchard wasn't even playing at that point. But so it's hard to. I try not to judge it on that game, but so I kind of throw that one aside. I don't know about you, but I kind of throw that one aside.
Yeah. I mean, it was the beginning of the season. I feel like the Celtics were dealing with a lot of injuries and COVID-related issues earlier on. So, I mean, November games have no bearing on the NBA playoffs anyway. So much has changed since then.
Mm-hmm. So let's look at some of the more recent ones because the next 3 games are all closer to now. We had February 8th, which I believe was right before the All-Star break, right?
Yeah.
Where they won handedly by 35. Katie and Kyrie didn't play in this game. So, yeah, again, like you can say, this is an injury game for the Nets. So, again, don't read into this game. But you also got to look. Celtics played great. I mean, again, Cantor played third most minutes off or fourth most minutes off the bench in this game. Played a ton of minutes. This was before Tice. Brown and Smart were the leading scorers with 22. Tatum had 19. Pritchard got some minutes in this game, but Schroeder was the leading minute holder off the bench with Grant Williams right behind. Again, different rotation. Can't judge it based on that. So we go to the next one where they won by 20. But again, you got to look. No KD, no Kyrie. So this was February 24th. So we won by 23. This game, Tatum actually showed up. Tatum had 30, Brown had 18, Smart had 15. And off the bench, was this Derek White's first game?
Yeah, I believe it.
This is either his first or second. I think it was his first, but he had 13 points off the bench. He played great. Grant Williams played the most time off the bench. Pritchard got the third most. And this is where the lineups kind of started to present itself as the Celtics, or like for the Celtics as a whole, where Pritchard came off the bench and played significant minutes. Williams played significant minutes. White played significant minutes. And everybody else didn't really play. So you can kind of look. This is where the Celtics start to like find their identity, per se. While the Nets struggle in this game, because didn't we start out this game? I think it was 24-2.
Yeah, that game they went on the massive run.
Yeah, and they had everybody but KD and Kyrie, which again, two significant players. So fine, let's not talk about that game. Let's talk about the most recent one, which was March 6th. Tatum dropped 54 points. KD had 37 points. So we didn't really do well on KD. Fine. We held Kyrie to 19 points. So you want to look at Kyrie going off against that Cavs team. Kyrie went off. KD played awesome. And they barely beat the freaking Cleveland Cavaliers.
Without Jared Allen.
Yeah, without Jared Allen. Come on. Like, we are significantly better than the Cleveland Cavaliers. Our defense is significantly better. We're not going to let Kyrie play. Like, you think White and Smart like together are gonna let Kyrie shoot perfect from the field? No, that's not going to happen. So you got to. And Brown had 21 points in this game, so he played pretty well in this game as well. You got to think in this game, this is the most evident. This was a great game, and it instant classic. Tatum played phenomenal. He was unconscious. But, like, you got to think, people are like, Celtics should be worried after that playing game. They barely beat the Cavs. Like, you had your two best players go off, and you barely beat the Cavs. Like, our defense isn't going to be that bad. The Cavs defense was horrendous. They were getting picked apart. And their offense was just as bad. I've never seen so many wide open shots by a team. Like, and the Cavs just couldn't hit anything. If the Celtics get those open shots, which I think they will, because the Nets defense sucks, it's over. There's no way. Like, we're not going to miss that many shots, because a lot of those shots weren't even just threes. There was a lot of inside shots just wide open that were missed. I feel good about this matchup based on like those. But like, how did you feel about that March 6th game?
I mean, it's hard to pick anything on one game, but if there's anything that the playing game last night with Cleveland showed me personally, it's that the Nets just have no depth after that. Even after making that Harden trade, like Seth Curry, one night he'll play like his brother, won't miss a shot, and other ones he can't make a wide open one.
Yeah, he was non-existent in that game last night.
I don't know what his exact plus minus was, but it couldn't have been great when he was out there. Bruce Brown.
I forgot he was on the team for a while during that game. And then I saw him. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot. Seth Curry, like, where has he been? Like, Bruce Brown played well, but like Seth Curry was non-existent in that game.
Nah, Curry he doesn't really give you a whole lot. He's not a great defender. He can't play make for his teammates. Like, he doesn't provide a whole lot. But for someone who did save them last night, Bruce Brown came up big. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at the game, like, the Cavs had to start doubling Kyrie at some point. And Bruce Brown, like, I heard the announcer compare him to Draymond Green, like, role. And it really was thought about it. Like, you get it to him in the open court, he just makes the right play over and over again. So that's the guy the Celtics are going to have to watch out for. It could be an X factor type. in this series because Kyrie and KD are going to show up and play well. The Jays are going to show up and play well. I think the big matchup will be Marcus versus Bruce Brown. Which role player will provide more for their lineups? Both can tend to be streaky, not as consistent. But I think if the Celtics can really shut down Bruce Brown, prevent Curry from getting into rhythm, you can let KD drop 30 plus. You can let Kyrie do his thing. It's not going to matter. Because as long as your defense is doing a good job on their other guys, they're not going to be able to outscore your team with more depth.
And Drummond's not going to do that to us. He really isn't. He had 16 points, 8 rebounds. He's not going to have that many open dunks against us. Our defense is significantly better than that. But my thing is when you have Patty Mills, Goran Dragic, and that Kessler Edwards guy who was god awful last night. I don't know why he was playing. And then Claxton played pretty well off the bench, but those other guys didn't do anything. Patty Mills hit a couple threes early, but he didn't do anything after that. And our defense and our bench is better than that. And I think it's going to come down to KD and Kyrie are both going to have to play 40 minutes for them to even be in the game. And because once one of them came out in that game, they struggled. And both of them are going to be exhausted. Never mind, after one game in a 7-game series, they're going to be exhausted. They're not going to be able to play. Even if they beat us in this series, the next round, they're not going to be able to keep that up for more than one round. They have to play all these high intensity, high level minutes, and that's crazy to ask of two guys. And I think they're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to handle it. Their bodies aren't going to be able to handle it. They're great players, but their bodies aren't going to be able to handle it.
Exactly. And that kind of brings us to the possible injury re-additions to both squads here, Simmons and Rob Williams, that could help both teams because the Celtics are going to have to play the Jays.
Hold on. Before we get to the injuries, I kind of want to talk about matchups. All right. So between the we're going to get to that. I want to add that to the end because I got a big spiel about those assholes. Excuse my language, but Smart. All right, so let's go point guard. Smart and Kyrie. They have the edge with Kyrie, obviously, but I think Smart will play good defense on him and be able to contain him generally. But they edge us out in the Kyrie or in the point guard. Curry Brown, the shooting guard. Brown is better significantly. We win that. Bruce Brown or we'll switch KD and Tatum, or we'll switch KD and Bruce Brown at the small forward. So it's KD versus Tatum at the small forward for this sake. KD is better than Tatum, but Tatum makes it close because Tatum plays really well under pressure or in big games like this. So we'll give him small forward. Brown versus Tice. I like Tice, especially Grant Williams. Those two will be rotating through him. We'll call it even at that at the power forward. How about that? And then center, Horford, Drummond. I take Horford any day. I think Horford's better player, better shooter, better defender, better scorer. I would take Horford at the center. So I think we beat them out at the shooting guard and the center, and they beat us out at point guard and barely at small forward, and that's even on the power forward. Bench, we have a better bench.
By far better.
By far, we have a better bench. Coaching, we have better coaching. And just overall, I think the Celtics as a whole play together better. Chemistry, I would say we are better chemistry-wise than the Nets. So honestly, if you add it up, I think we out just purely based on on paper matchup wise. I think we out We beat them out on paper. How I can't think of the phrase. I couldn't figure out where I was going with that, but you know what I'm talking about. So do you disagree? What do you think? Smart and Kyrie, you would put Kyrie, right?
Yeah, I agree with what you said earlier, and I mean, it kind of going back to what I said before about Celtics having much more quality depth than Brooklyn does. The only spots that I would give Brooklyn like the definite advantage would be KD over Tatum, and Tatum is a really really good player, but I mean, it's KD we're talking about
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. I'm
I
just saying Tatum makes it close just because like you can't like say, oh yeah, KD's better than Tatum and just leave it at that.
yeah, because JT will probably be first team All NBA this year. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't surprise us on there.
Should
So I
be.
mean, the only two spots I would give Brooklyn the definite advantage. Like they just don't have depth. They don't have consistent depth that they can count on. Compared to us, we can count on Al Horford for 10 points, 10 boards a game. We can count on Derek White to provide some secondary offense night in and night out. We can count on Grant Williams and Peyton Pritchard to hit clutch threes and just simply make them at a 40% plus clip. Like Brooklyn doesn't.
Their defense sucks.
Yeah, and they can't defend us. So I think that we just have an overall better team. We have a better coach, almost basically better everything, save for those two guys. So I think the Celtics definitely should win this series, even without Robert Williams.
So now I want to get into one storyline before we get to injuries and stuff. One storyline I'm seeing is from Nets fan is we want Boston. Remember what we did to you guys last year. Like don't or like you can't count your wins from this year because we were injured. But then they want to talk about last year's playoffs. Let's look at last year's playoffs, shall we? Our starting lineup: Smart at the point guard, so we have the same point guard, but Smart is significantly better at his job at point guard right now. Evan Fournier at the shooting guard. Evan Fournier sucked for us. At the small forward, listen to this: Romeo Langford, who shouldn't have been even touching the court. Power forward Tatum. In our center was Tristan Thompson. You can't seriously tell me, oh, you can't count those games or like from this year and then try and bring up the playoffs from last year. We didn't have Brown. Brown was injured. We upgraded at our big positions with Tice and Horford. Smart is significantly better at playing point guard this year. And now let's look at our bench. Hold on. Let's look at our bench from last year's playoffs. Pritchard, Carson Edwards, Aaron Nesmith, Grant Williams, and the person who got the most point or most time off the bench last year in that playoff series, Jabari Parker. Come on, like Grant Williams is significantly better this year. Peyton Pritchard is significantly better this year. Aaron Nesmith doesn't really even get time anymore. We have Derek White coming off the bench now. Like you gotta look at the depth and see how much has changed for the Celtics since last year. Since even like some of those games earlier this year, like we are significantly better. All right, and then you want to flip it to the other side. Talk about what the Nets looked like last year. Kyrie, James Harden, Joe Harris, Blake Griffin, KD. This year, Kyrie, same guy. Seth Curry, worse than James Harden. Bruce Brown, worse than Joe Harris. KD, still there. Drummond, probably even with Blake Griffin, maybe a little bit better. We'll give him a better out for the. So their starting lineup from this year is arguably worse than last year's. Their bench last year: Landry Shamet, Tyler Johnson, Bruce Brown, Nicholas Claxton, DeAndre Jordan. This year is better. I'll give them that. Their bench is better than last year this year, and their bench isn't all that good. Goran Dragic, Patty Mills, Kessler Edwards, Nick Claxton, and LaMarcus Aldridge, who doesn't even play, I don't think. So the teams are different. Stop trying to bring up last year's playoffs. That's what I have to say with the Nets. I know I just kind of went on a long spiel there, but you can't bring up that narrative and then also say Oh, well, don't talk about your wins earlier this year. We were injured. Yeah, that was my spiel. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah. So as you the lineups have changed so much in the last year, and I think Nets fans forget like you can't just expect a team like the Celtics last year, who had really no depth at all beyond their some members of their starting five. You can't expect a team like that as the seventh seed to beat the 2 seed Nets as good as they were last year without an all-star and Jaylen Brown on the lineup. Like people forget he didn't play that series. He was injured. And they also had Harden, the triple double machine on their squad. So they were better last year. And I
He had
mean, they
Romeo Langford starting. Can
exactly.
he can't even get minutes on the Spurs right now.
But you can't even get into the game for the Spurs because of these. They stay healthy.
And
So, like,
Fournier sucked. He
yeah,
just sucked.
Fournier was just never a good fit with the Celtics, and the Celtics have just gotten so much better with Ime as coach, stressing the ball movement. The Jays have improved as playmakers. Like this is an
Defense is significantly better.
yeah, even from earlier this year, not even to mention last year's playoffs, they've gotten so much better. This is a new basketball team. You ask anybody around the league, like Doc Rivers said, he noticed a pretty big difference watching the Celtics games earlier in the year from versus now. So this is a whole new Celtics team that I don't think the Nets fans have. I mean, I don't expect them to watch Celtics games, but they're going to find out soon enough. This is not the same Celtics team that they're used to playing.
They don't want Boston. That's all I gotta say. All right, so we can get into some of the other storylines. So Simmons, I'm reading today that he, although they're not 100% sure if he can come back or when, he's aiming for game 3. So let's say even if he comes back game 3, maybe game 4, I think we win the first 2 in Boston. I doubt we lose at home. We might struggle on the road. I honestly think we steal one, but maybe not. Um, I think we steal one. Say we steal one. I think we win this series in 6. I don't think Simmons. Honestly, I think Simmons hurts them more than he helps them right now because they're gonna have to mid playoff series get used to playing with a new guy that needs the ball in his hand to be effective. Because he's not going to be able to get integrated to the offense by shooting and just being able to like play off ball. So you're looking at a guy that can't be integrated into an offense like that. He's going to be having to run the offense or he's not effective at all. So honestly, I hope he comes back because I think it'll screw them up so much.
Yeah. I don't know. Go as far to say that they're worse off with him in the lineup, just because, I mean, not a great shooter by any means, one of the worst in the league, but he does give them that defense that they've been lacking so much, and he knows how to move the ball. But as you said, I think it screws up the team chemistry. I mean, reports are coming out that Kyrie just hates playing off the ball. And as you said, Simmons has to be on ball. You can't just expect
He
him
needs to be the point guard, or he's gonna complain, or he's just not gonna be effective.
he can't do it on offense unless he has the ball, since he's not a threat from the outside. So I think he comes back. It'll add to their defense and playmaking, which could hurt the Celtics, but it will also hurt the Nets offense, which in turn helps the Celtics. But I don't really see Simmons being much of a factor in this series, regardless. Like, he hasn't played in close to a year. So even, let's say he comes back game 3, there's no guarantee he's going to be the Ben Simmons we saw last regular season. Like, he's not just going to be that guy just like this with a snap of the fingers. Like, he's going to need time on the court to work back into that. So I don't really see him being a massive factor in the series.
Mm-hmm. Other one, more on our side, somebody who would actually be effective in this series, Robert Williams. It's looking like he actually could return towards the end of this series if it goes that far. How do you feel about Rob Williams' return?
I love a Rob Williams return. I think he's the perfect complement for the Celtics lineup in this series. As you look at guys like KD, like Kyrie, they love making these acrobatic finishes at the rim. Like KD has the massive wingspan. Kyrie, probably the greatest finisher of all time. And I think that the length of Robert Williams as the rover on the baseline would really disrupt those guys, help them, not get into rhythm, disrupt their shot making. And that could help the Celtics because if the Nets can't score, there's no way they have a chance to beat the Celtics. Like they're not going to be able to stop a nosebleed on defense.
Mhm.
So if they're going to rely on those guys to score a whole bunch of points. So Rob was really, really good at uh, deterring those guys from going to the rim, making them take bad shots. And those guys will hit like tough shots, but they're a lot less, percentage wise, they're not going to be making as many tough followays as they would easy layups over backup centers.
Yeah, and I want Rob Williams to come back. I don't want him to be rushed. If we're up and we can wait till the second round to bring him back, I'm all for it. I want him to be fully healthy. Um, I don't want to risk him, but if we need him and he can come back, get him in there. He's going to be so effective. Um, Usually meniscus injuries don't really affect explosiveness like a ton right away. Like I think he should like once he comes back, his explosiveness won't be too gone. I think he'll be able to pick it up pretty fast. Um, I hope he does, but I also would rather him for the second round, like in the future. So don't rush him. That's what I gotta say. But let's kind of give our let's give our overall like final thoughts of this series. First off, Kyrie's gonna get absolutely just annihilated in the Garden. I don't like. He thought it was bad before. It's gonna be terrible. Um, and if he tries to pull that whole like stomping on Lucky thing again, he you have you have no idea what like that's going to be brutal for him. Um, so we'll see. We'll see how he does with that. Um, I actually forgot to wear my bottle shirt today. I was going to wear that on the show. But I think he needs to watch what he says at these games because he's going to get in his head real quick. But next, I think they win this game in six. That's my prediction. Celtics in six. I hope it doesn't go to seven, but I think if we does go to seven, home court at the Garden, it's gonna be roaring. I think we win. We win it. We can win it in seven. I hope it goes shorter than that. But I think my prediction is Celtics in six. And I think Rob Williams will probably come back for game six.
Yeah, I'd agree with that prediction. I think it's Celtics in six because guys like guys as good as Kyrie and KD, like they're not just gonna let their teams get swept, regardless of the lack of depth on their lineups. Like those guys are they're Hall of Famers in their own right. They're gonna find a way to steal a game or two from the Celtics, but I can see Rob Williams coming back for like a game five. And if it's tight, then that just pushes the Celtics over the top. I could see them winning the next game or two to just close out the series. But I think the Celtics keep doing what they've been doing the last couple of months, playing their lockdown defense, moving the ball on offense. Players like Peyton Pritchard and Grant Williams continue to be reliable three-point shooters. Derek White continues to lead the second team offense with Tatum. I can't see the Celtics losing this series, not in the first round. So I like the Celtics in six here. It'll definitely be a tough series. It's not going to be easy, but I would be surprised if the Celtics are sent home after round one.
Yep, and I think Nets fans are going to regret that chant. We want Boston real quick. And I think Bruce Brown's going to pull back that statement real fast because KD even after hand it was like shouldn't have said that, man. He knows. So I think we'll be in for a good series. We don't duck teams. The Celtics aren't. We don't fear anyone. So I mean, we're not Milwaukee. We don't try and duck the Nets. We'll take them on. We have no problem with that. So I think it'll be an entertaining series. Can't wait to watch. Thank you everyone for watching or listening. Appreciate it. This episode is brought to you by Celsius, so go check them out. We'll see you next time. Hopefully for our second round preview. First the Bucks. Hopefully we get there. So go Celtics. See ya, everybody.
Yeah.